Hi everybody, I'm Justin.
And I'm Matt.
And I don't care about what happens to D&D.
You're a liar.
Okay.
If you didn't care, we wouldn't be doing this video right now.
Hot take time.
We care a little.
I guess. Okay, so if a big company from another country decides that they want to buy a product that is beloved to a lot of people,
Yeah.
how do people feel about that?
Well, I think the devil's in the details, right? So what country and what property and what's likely to become of it? In this particular case, we're talking about
Tencent.
China.
Yep.
China. And D&D.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the rumor going around, is that Tencent is going to purchase from, or at least they're in discussions to purchase from Hasbro.
Mm-hmm. Basically the whole Dungeons and Dragons property. I don't know if that also means buying Wizards of the Coast or just the D&D property. I don't know from that article.
I feel like that's labels more than content,
Fair
right?
enough.
Like, but be that as it may, if they own the intellectual property, they can do as they will.
Yes. And I already gave you my hot take. I just don't care.
Well, is that because you're not gonna D&D no matter what?
Yeah.
My feeling on it is, well, it's complicated. It
Okay.
always is complicated. But I don't have any problem with Hasbro selling D&D to someone who's going to be a good faith custodian of a beloved property. Intellectual property, I should say. But I feel like Tencent in China doesn't have a great track record with certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
Some
they're focused on digital. They're focused on the computer gaming aspect.
Yeah, and social media and apps and all that. So yeah,
Sure.
It feels interesting that basically a tech company would buy a mostly print.
But is it mostly print?
Wow, it might not be anymore.
I mean, they've been licensing D&D content and related content for video game purposes for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm not up on the latest in terms of the finances, but I bet that some of those video game properties are among the more profitable segments of that title. So it sort of makes sense that a video game related company would want to get a hold of that, because they could mine that for all kinds of additional games. But then that begs the question: what happens to the tabletop stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. It could just be. I'm wondering if it'll all just turn into like, hey, we built our own virtual tabletop. We're not going to give you any print stuff or very little. Play it on their tabletop.
Yeah, that would be rough. Because there's a lot of old school gamers like us who want paper.
Yeah. And this is pure speculation, by the way, on my point.
Of course. There's no official word that anything is happening. They're just in discussions.
But it has created quite a fanfare.
Well, yeah, and not just for the reasons we talked about whether they would shift away from tabletop print media and go more digital, but there's also sort of the political side of it, which is, Tencent doesn't have the best track record when it comes to sort of ideological stance on free speech and democracy and all that flag waving stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Cue Activision Blizzard.
yeah. I mean that I don't want to make too much of that. But there's something to that. I mean, look, D&D books are not cheap.
No,
right? Print stuff is gotten. We've talked before about how they've really kind of ostensibly upped the quality, or at least the appearance of quality of their product, and then charged quite a bit for it.
Yeah.
That money is going somewhere, and if it starts going to a company with the track record that they have, how do we feel about that?
It's
I know you're not buying it anymore anyway.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that now Hasbro has a shitty track record, at least when it comes to D&D. Because think about it, just right before Christmas, they make Baldur's Gate 3 best-selling game, game of the year, record profits, and the guy who's in charge gives himself a big old bonus, but lays off a whole bunch of employees. That's shitty.
Well, right, but I mean, that's because Hasbro isn't making money in most parts of their company.
Yeah,
right?
But I don't know. That's a problem with capitalism just in general.
I'm not arguing for
Yeah.
Hasbro. I'm just saying that, look, this is a big company with their fingers in a lot of different facets, right? Look, I collect the G.I. Joe figures, which have nothing whatsoever to do with gaming, but I'm a collector, so I do. They don't make enough money with their toy division to offset, or D&D is making money, but not all divisions of their company are making money. So they're laying off in their company because they're not profitable. And if they see this as a way to sort of shore up at least their short-term profits by selling off a valuable commodity to another company, it seems short-sighted, but I guess if it's that or go under, that's how they see it. And if they haven't, and we can agree they haven't, been really responsible custodians of the D&D brand, maybe they should sell it to somebody. It's just whether or not this is the somebody.
Yeah.
Well, you floated an idea. You said, well, if it's got to be a digital company or digitally focused company, why not
sell to Microsoft?
Sure.
I know that would there's a million nerds that just cried out when I said that.
And there's a million Microsoft shareholders who went, no!
But I mean, with the way that Microsoft has been buying up all these different studios, it makes sense that why not buy Larian and buy him out and be like, hey, Baldur's Gate 3 is a lot of money. But then again, Microsoft bought out Bethesda, and look at all the Bethesda products coming out now. They're shit. So, as you were telling me earlier, and now that I think about it, just because you have more resources to pump into it doesn't make it good.
Well, yeah.
Or better.
Right. And the resources have to be allocated properly, and the people have to be in place that know how to use those resources to maximum effect, both for quality and also for profit.
Yeah.
And that's a trickier thing than it should be. Because there are lots of creative content folks out there who can make a good product and lose a ton of money doing it. And there's a bunch of bean counters out there who can make a real crap product and make a profit doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But finding somebody who can make a quality product that also makes a company money, that's a pretty narrow sweet spot. And so when you're talking about a property, an intellectual property with as much rich history as D&D does, and the tendrils and facets of whether you're talking about video games, or you're talking about print, or you're talking about virtual tabletops, or you're talking about PDF or some other electronic platform to deliver what used to be print books, because all of those things are part of this alchemy that they're trying to work out. There's 50 ways it could go wrong, and 1 or 2 ways it can go right. But
I don't have an answer to this. I don't have a good enough answer to this. I don't know who I'd want it to buy. Who I'd want to buy it.
I think your Microsoft idea isn't the worst one in the world. But I mean, ultimately, you need somebody who's going to treat it with care and respect, but also make it profitable enough that whoever buys it won't just close it down and mothball it, right? Because that's the danger. If it doesn't make enough money, it goes away. So I don't know, man. So, but yeah, and I'm not one of these bash China at every turn kind of people, but yeah, it makes me a little queasy. Their track record on things, the ethics of just that company in particular, makes me a little queasy.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you guys think in the
Yeah,
comments.
how much do you guys care who owns it, and what facets go into that? You know, what makes good, bad decision? Let us know.
And also let us know who you think should buy it, if anybody.
Yeah, come up with a better idea than we got,
Yeah,
which
Paizo.
is me, no idea, and him, Microsoft.
Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys very much for watching. This video was sponsored by 2 bitter, jaded players.
Yes, and nobody else, and probably nobody else after they see it.
Yes.
Anyway,
Anyway, my name is Justin,
I'm Matt.
and don't forget to game on.
Game on, guys. Thanks.